Vet with Haggerty Dog Training, and welcome to my live Friday Night Live. I am here in Delray Beach, Florida, or West Palm Beach, Florida, I should say, bringing you Friday Night Live. We missed yesterday because I was out there training dogs, so I do apologize. There are a bunch of questions and problems that came across my training field the last couple of days. I want to talk to you about them. One is distraction proofing your dog. There are so many times I see people that they're working with their dog and they're in a rush to bring the dog to the dog park and get it working around distractions. The problem is the dog doesn't have a foundation. So they're trying to put their dog in a situation where they're going to fail before the dog's actually ready for it. So it's super important to actually get your dog solid in his obedience skills and in his stays and in his recall before you start throwing him into distractions. I can't tell you how many times over the years people have said to me, oh, I have a dog that's not good with other dogs, so I need to put him in a group class. No, that's the last place you need to put him. The first place you need to put him is one-on-one with a trainer and get the dog trained and focusing on you and learning different skills. And then you're not going to introduce them to 20 dogs at one time. It's going to be one dog at a time at a distance. And then you start slowly building that and decreasing the distance and increasing the number of dogs. You don't want to just throw the dog out there. That sets them up to fail. So when you're working with your dog at home, what you really want to do is you want to first start working on your stays when you're wanting to distraction proof them. And what that means is you want to build up to a 3-minute sit stay, a 5-minute down stay, and a 30-minute stay at their bed. Now, what that means also is you're not going to try to do it, outside of Starbucks the first time you do it. Get them nice and steady in the driveway for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and 30 minutes in the bed. And then you're going to slowly put them into a little bit more of a distracting environment where you might have 1 or 2 people at a further distance. You don't want to just go downtown and start walking where it's busy or through a crowd of people or a fair. You want to go where there are people at a distance, dogs at a distance. And then once they're good and they're doing a 3-minute sit stay with distractions at about a 30-foot distance, then you're going to start decreasing the distance. So then start going maybe 15 feet, 10 feet, and then start increasing the numbers of people. A good rule of thumb is that sit stay for 3 minutes, that down stay for 5 minutes, and the going into the bed and staying put in the bed for 30 minutes at a time. And it's super important that you are working on your length of time before your distance. I tell my owners all the time, I'd rather you come back to class next week and have a nice 3-minute sit stay with your dog 5 feet in front of you than 30 seconds, 20 feet away, right? The important thing is build the length of time that they're put before you start building the distance, not the other way around. I can't emphasize that enough. So that is one key to distraction proofing your dog. Tomorrow I'm going to put together a video on distraction proofing your dogs, and I'll throw that up on YouTube tomorrow. Also on positioning, which I'm going to get into briefly now. I can't tell you how many people I go out into the home and what I see them doing. And if you drive down the street, you see people do it all the time. Their dog isn't good with distractions. So what they want to do is they want to block their dog. That's the worst place to be because you have less control over your dog. The best place to put your dog in positioning is between you and the distraction. You have way more control over the situation. If you walk to the right of a distraction and your dog's has been taught to heel on the left-hand side, you can make a quick right turn, you can make an about turn, you can go in different directions. But if you place yourself between your dog and the distraction, your dog is trying to jet out in front of you, trip you up, wrap themselves around behind you, trip you up again, and you're going to fall flat on your face. You're also going to end up restraining your dog and holding your dog back, as opposed to teaching your dog to focus on you. So it's super important that when you are building with distractions and you're going past distractions, don't block your dog. I know people read it all the time on Google and it doesn't work. And I'm going to show you that tomorrow in my video, why that doesn't work and why that is not the best place to be. So look for that tomorrow. Positioning the dog. All right. The foundations for all puppies. And this goes back to the foundations. I had a lady not too long ago. She'd gotten this adorable new little puppy. Puppy was maybe 10 weeks old. And she said, well, I want him to stop chewing my shoes. I want him to lay down and stay and not beg at the table. And I want him to stop barking at the door and not run out the door. But she wanted these things, but she wasn't understanding that you have to take steps. So before we can teach him to not run out that front door, we need to work on a sit stay with him so that he learns that when you're going to open up the door, you just tell him stay and he stays put. Right? That's going to make him running out the door a lot less likely, and it's going to teach him to not run out that door. People say, oh, I'm going to just solve the problems. Well, that sounds great. But you know what? Those basic skills that every good dog should know: walking on a loose leash, sit and stay for 3 minutes, down stay for 5 minutes, come when called, go to your bed, and leave the room. That's 6. All of those skills are going to indirectly help you with all of the problems that you have. You have a dog that's running out the front door, teach him to sit and stay for 3 minutes. You have a dog that jumps up on guests, teach them to go to their bed and lay down and stay there for 30 minutes. So when the doorbell rings, they know ding dong means I go to the doorbell. You have a dog that chases squirrels or cats, teach them to walk on a nice loose leash. See, all of those skills indirectly work on all those problems, and it stops those problems from happening. It's not about just solving that problem. If you work on the obedience skills, it has a ripple effect that solves the problems that you're having. You have a dog that lunges. Well, if he's taught to walk on a nice loose leash, he's not going to lunge anymore because he's learning to walk on a nice loose leash. So those are your foundation skills that every single puppy needs to know. And once they learn that, they have the skills to go on to tricks, rollover, play dead, etc. All right. And now this was a great question for the week or situation that I came across this week. Sienna showed me, well, I walk the dog. Hey, Danny, how are you? Good to see you. What I was saying was, so they walk their dog during the week when they're training in their training sessions on the leash and collar that came with their training program. But then she showed me the other leash. She said, well, this is what I walk her when I'm at work. And the other day she chased a cat and pulled me down. Well, that's because the leash you're using to walk her is not a good leash for that. 100% of the time when you're training your dog, I don't care if you're doing it on your own, you're training with me, you're training online, whatever it is, you have another trainer. I don't care who the trainer is or what methods or techniques they're teaching you. The important thing is that you are consistent. For example, when you're teaching your dog to heel, they can't just heel those 10, 15 minutes a day out in your driveway when you're practicing them. And then the rest of the day, they're dragging you up and down the street and here, there, and everywhere. They have to always be in that heel position. That's their happy place. The happy place is in that heel position. So they learn that there's no other place in the world to be but on your left-hand side in that heel position. Now, if you want to teach your dog to also go to the right side when you're walking, that's fine. You can do that. But start them on the healing. It's not the healing exercise only happens 10, 15 minutes a day when you're practicing. It's all the time. You want your dog to have that consistency. And once they have that consistency, they're going to learn to behave in all sorts of arenas and all distractions. So whatever leash and collar your trainer gave you or that you're choosing to use on your own in training, use it all the time. Make every situation a training situation. That's super important. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now, I had a gentleman who has a dog that he's having difficulty house training. And he said, well, if I send the dog away and you live in a house that's only 1 story and I have 2 stories and upstairs and downstairs, how is the dog going to get housebroken? It doesn't matter. Okay. Inside a house, the dog, if you do it the right way, the dog is going to learn to not go to the bathroom in the house. But you have to remember something. Every time the dog has an accident in that house, it is rewarded. It feels better. Going to the bathroom in the house becomes self-rewarding behavior, self-reinforcing behavior. So they know, gee, every time I go to the bathroom in the house, I feel better. I don't care that it's on your Persian. I don't care it's on your refinished floors. I don't care it's on the marble tile. They feel better. Now, women can relate to this. How many times have you been on a road trip and you have to go to the bathroom? Now, do you stop at the rest area that's a mile away, or do you stop at the rest area that's 30 miles away? No, you go to the one that's a mile away because you really have to go to the bathroom. How many times have you been on a road trip and you have to go so badly, you walk into the bathroom or run into the bathroom and you're like, oh my God, I wouldn't let a rat die here, but I don't care because I have to go to the bathroom so badly. And you go and you feel so much better. And you leave and you forget about the bathroom you wouldn't let a rat die in because you feel better. Same thing with your dogs. Every time they go to the bathroom in the house, they feel better. They absolutely feel better. So, anytime you give your dog an opportunity to go to the bathroom in the house, they are learning to go to the bathroom in the house. So, don't give them the opportunity. You can do that by keeping them attached to you, by using a crate, etc. But do whatever you have to do to not allow them to have an accident in the house. Now, I'm going to just jump on something because I just remembered something. I went to visit Big Dog Rescue Ranch today out in Loxahatchee, Florida. And it's a huge, beautiful facility. And one of the dogs that's been sitting there for too darn long, a really, really nice dog, she said to me, yeah, the dog was returned because the dog ate the sofa. They wouldn't put the dog in the crate. But instead of not putting the dog in the crate, because they don't want to put the dog in the crate because that's just so mean, they let the dog eat the sofa because the dog never learned not to eat the sofa. They didn't crate the dog, so the dog had the opportunity to eat the sofa. So what did they do instead? Because the crate was too mean, they brought the dog to the shelter. Okay. If you don't want to use a crate, that's fine. But if you don't want your couch chewed up, you don't want your house destroyed, and you're not willing to train your dog and teach them not to do those things, why not use the crate? The crate's a lot easier. The crate's a lot cheaper than obstruction surgery because your dog ate the sofa or ate the insides of the sofa and now he's obstructed. Use the crate. The crate's not a bad thing. Now, some people say, yeah, but he knows he did wrong because when I look at him and yell at him, he knows not to eat the sofa, but he does it anyway. The reason is because the look you gave him, the yelling and screaming you gave him is not nearly as bad as the pleasure of eating the sofa. And I'm not saying that every dog you don't crate is going to eat your sofa. But if you're having a problem like that, call a trainer. Go get some training. All right. It's a lot easier for the dog to get the dog trained, even if you're bringing it to a group basic obedience class and teaching it to the crate by feeding it in there, than dumping it at the shelter. It just doesn't make sense. I can assure you that dog is not in a crate, but I can assure you he'd much rather be hanging out, laying around in somebody's home, being loved on, than sleeping where he's got barking neighbors, etc. Anyway, those are my questions, and that is my soapbox for tonight. And Danny, I'm doing great. I'm so glad you chimed in and came on. I hope you guys are nice and warm. I heard it's a little cold up there, and I think it's in what's the temperature tonight in West Palm Beach? It is. Let's see. Where's my weather bug app? It's a beautiful night. I can tell you that. I know that. It is, my phone's very slow right now, 79, and it's beautiful, and there are no mosquitoes, and it's going to be 59 tomorrow. Now, I won't deny that 59, 60s, it's crisp. Are the leaves turning yet? The leaves must be turning very, very soon. It's not a bad thing, but come January and February, when you guys are busting your butts, shoveling snow and walking in slushy city streets, I will be at the beach training my dogs and having a good old time. The colors are just starting to turn. Well, that's awesome. Well, Danny, try to catch up with me this weekend. Got a bunch of dogs to train tomorrow. I've got a golden retriever that I'm going to be doing off-leash work with. And I have a little Bernedoodle that I'm finishing up lessons. And then also, Danny, you need to figure out when you're going to come down here to visit. So anyway, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week. And look for that video tomorrow that I'm going to put up. I'm going to film it tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be edited right away, and we'll get that video up for you on distractions and positioning and training your dogs. Until next time, everybody stay safe and have a great evening. Thanks again. Bye-bye.